Okay, now let's go to the little bitty paper, which means we don't have many notes today, which is good. So we're going to practice different ways of calculating the slope. Okay? If you have a table, or even if you have ordered pairs, if you have at least 2 ordered pairs, you can calculate the slope. And there's this equation that looks kind of hard. It looks a lot harder than it is. Okay? You got this weird triangle thing. All that means is find out how your y's are changing, and that's going to be your top number. And then this triangle x means find out how your x's are changing, and that's going to be your bottom number. Okay? Now you can pick any 2 points. You don't have to look at all of them. I usually like to go with the first 2 and just ignore the rest. So looking at the first 2 points here, I'm looking at my y's, and it's going from 5 down to 3. So how's it changing? By how many? And we're just counting. Yeah, it's changing. It's going down by 2, so I'm going to say negative 2. If it was going up, it would be a positive 2. Okay, now on my x side, I'm going from 0 to 1. It went up 1, right? So that's it. This is your change in y, or the triangle y. That was easy to find, right? It's going down 2. And this is my change in x, or my little triangle x. So don't get confused by the equation. It's really easier than the equation looks. Now once you have the 2 numbers, remember, which cow is on top, Dixie or Roy D? On top though. On the picture, the Roy D's painting, right? Up and down, and that is him. So when you put your fraction up and down, the top number is your Roy D number. So it's negative 2 over 1. You always want to simplify it as far as it'll go. And if you have a hard one that you're not sure how to simplify, just put it in your calculator. It does it for you. Negative 2 divided by 1 is negative 2. So the slope of this line is negative 2. All right? Okay, let's do the next one. And by the way, everything on here is a line. So we don't have to figure out if it's a line or not. We're already told these are all lines. Okay? And on your homework, it's all going to be lines as well. So on number 2, just like before, I'm just going to pick the first 2 points. I could pick any 2 points and still get the right answer. Going from 2 to 8, I'm going up. But how many am I going up? 6. Good. That's going to be the top number of my fraction. And now here, from negative 2 to 0, I'm also going up. Right? Negative 2 to negative 1 to 0 is actually going up 2. So my top number is my change in y, that's 6. My bottom number is my 2, that's my change in x. What is 6 divided by 2? 3, so you have a slope of 3. Make sense? All right, let's do number 3. We have 40, but it's going all the way down to 28. Somebody figure that out for us. Yeah, is it going up or down though? Since it's going down, I have to make sure and put negative 12. Okay, so as this one's going down 12, what's this one doing? Yeah, it's going up. And I mean, you always have to you kind of have to think extra when you're dealing with negatives. But from negative 6 to negative 3, it actually is getting bigger. So it's getting bigger by 3. Okay? So my top number, my Roy D number, is negative 12. My bottom number is positive 3. And what do you get when you have negative 12 divided by positive 3? Negative 4. My slope is negative 4. So keep in mind, this is in a table form. You could do the exact same little technique if you just were given 2 ordered pairs. As long as you have 2 x's or 2 inputs and you have the corresponding y's or outputs, you can just do the change in y divided by the change in x. Always remember the Roy D number, the y number, that changing number is what goes on top and the other one goes on bottom. All right? So that's how you do it when you're given a table, or even if you're just given ordered pairs. Let's take a look at what you do if you see a graph. And it's actually, a lot of people thinks it's easier on a graph because it's more visual. So what we're going to do, we're going to take a look at each of these 3 graphs. We're going to figure out the vertical change in y to the horizontal change in x. Basically, we're going to figure out the slope. Okay? Now take a look at all three of these lines. Which one has a negative slope? And tell me, if you think you know, tell me why you think it's the negative. Is 4 negative, is 5 negative, or is 6 negative? Which one?
5.
5. He's correct. 5 is a negative slope. And why? How do you know?
It goes down instead of going down.
It goes down. What I said just a while ago on my little example, you always look at it going left to right like an old school video game, a side scroller. This guy would be going uphill if he hit that line, but on number 5, he would be going steeply downhill. Okay? And then again on number 6, he'd be going uphill. So without even knowing the numbers, we already know this is going to be a positive slope, this is going to be a negative slope, and this is going to be a positive slope. Now we just have to get the numbers. Before we get the numbers though, which of these has the steepest slope? 4, 5, or 6? Go ahead. 4?
5.
5. It is 5. So even though 5 is negative, it's still really steeper. I mean, imagine if you're climbing uphill versus if you're climbing downhill on this one, you're almost rolling downhill, right? So the point I'm making is the steepness has nothing to do with whether or not it's positive or negative, okay? Steepness is how, and we're going to see in a second, it's how big the actual number is, not counting the positive or negative sign. All right, so to find the slope, it's the same thing. We're dealing with y first, and y is my up and down number. And then we're going to deal with x second. Now I want to give you a little hint. It might be easier for you guys, and well for anybody, to always think of x as moving to the right, at least at this point in time. Okay? If it's a positive slope, it's going to go up for the y, and then it's going to go right for the x. And if it's a negative slope, it's going to go down for the y, because it's going downhill, but it's still going to go right for the x. Okay? So for this one, we're going to count how many up and then how many right. For this one, how many down and how many right. And for this one, again, how many up and how many right. Okay? I'll go through it and you can see. They gave us some friendly points to look at. And we're going to go from point to point. So starting at this point to the next point, I have to first go up and figure out how many counts that is, and then I go to the right and figure out how many counts that is, and that's basically the slope. So from here to get up to the line where my next point is, I'm jumping 1, 2, it's just a count of 2. And then from here to get over to that point, I'm jumping 1, 2, 3. All right, so that's a slope of 2/3. Now if you're not sure that your slope is reduced, you can just put it in the calculator and push enter, and it'll reduce it for you if it can be reduced. So that is the slope of positive 2/3, which we would just say 2/3. Does that make sense? And I'll say you're counting the jumps, because I've seen some people they're in the bad habit of counting like 1, 2, 3. You don't count the point that you start on, okay? You count your steps, or you count from line to line. 1, 2, and then 3 to the right. Okay, let's do this one. We know it's going to be negative, so we're going to count down and right, down and right. Okay, so I start at this point, and I'm counting down to the line where my next point is. I count 1, 2, 3, and that's a -3 because it's going downwards. And then how many to the right? Just 1. So -3 over 1 is the same thing as what? -3. All right. Now I didn't point this out on the number 4. I'll do it real quick. If you aren't sure you have the right slope, keep doing your counts on up the line and see if it stays on the line. If it stays on, then you know that you're right. For example, up 2 over 3, up 2 again, over 3 again, and it's still on the line. Here, down 3, 1 to the right. Again, down 3, 1 to the right, down 3, 1 to the right. It stays on the line the entire time. You know it's the right slope. Sometimes it can be a little tricky or hard to tell if you're right. If you just keep counting up the line, you'll know for sure if you're right. Okay, this one's going to be a positive one again. I start here and go to the next one. I'm going to go straight up. 1, 2. and then straight over, 1, 2. But what is 2 divided by 2? 1. So what does that mean? It actually means, technically I'm going up 1 over 1. Let's see if that works. Up 1 over 1, up 1 over 1. I'm staying on the line every time, up 1 over 1. So the slope is 1.